Hello students, I am Mansi Datta and today we are going to study the first prose chapter from class 12 English textbook Flamingo. As you can see in the slide, which essentially underlines the theme of the story, which is love for one's mother tongue and its significance. Now, what is mother tongue? Mother tongue is the language that one grows speaking since childhood. Every community has its own mother tongue, which is its first language, the language which he uses to communicate with his family, friends, and his society in general. This language also helps him to stay connected to his culture and his country and its traditions. Every person must be proud of his own language, but often we neglect our own language and realize its true value only when it is taken away from us. So let's start today's lesson, which is called The Last Lesson, written by Alphonse Daudet. Let us know a little bit about the author now. Alphonse Daudet is a French novelist and short story writer. He was born in the year 1840. He joined the army, so he was a soldier and he fought in the Franco-Prussian War of 1870. France's defeat had a profound impact on him and reflected in his stories. Monday Tales, a collection of stories published in 1873 in London, and shows the change in France's fortune through the eyes of a young boy. Alphonse Daudet died in the year 1897. Let's now talk about the background of the story, which is very important. The backdrop of the story is the war between France and Prussia in the year 1870, in which Prussia defeated France. The language of Prussia is German, and so, after conquering the two French districts of Alsace and Lorraine, they ordered French to be replaced with German in the schools of these two districts. The story deals with the impact of that order on the schools of Alsace and Lorraine. The theme of the story is pride in one's language and how everyone should always guard and protect their language, especially in the times of crisis. Now, the story has two main characters. Franz, who is a little boy who reads in a French school in the province of Alsace and Lorraine. He is not interested in learning his lessons, but is afraid of his teacher M. Hamel, who is the other important character of the story. M. Hamel is a middle-aged man who has been teaching French in his school for the last 40 years and is highly respected by the people of the town. He is a hard taskmaster and loves his language deeply. Now, let's start the story. Franz, a little boy who is completely unaware of the new order from Berlin, makes his way to the school. He is worried because he has not done his homework of learning French participles as instructed by M. Hamel, and he is late for school. He is also more interested in spending time outside in nature, listening to the birds singing and watching the Prussian soldiers drilling. However, while on his way to the school, he notices a few strange things. He notices a crowd near the town bulletin board. Now, what is a bulletin board? A bulletin board is a board on which important notices are put up by the authorities of the town for public awareness. As Franz is in a hurry, he does not stop by to read the notice that has come recently and reach a school. After reaching the school, he notices the school to be strangely quiet. Normally, during other days, great noise and commotion could be heard from outside the school. The opening and closing of desks, students reading out their lessons loudly, and the rapping of M. Hamill's iron ruler on the table. But today the school was completely still and quiet. As Franz entered the classroom, he saw all his classmates sitting at their desks quietly. He was afraid of getting punished by M. Hamill for coming late to school, but surprisingly, Hamill softly asked him to go to his seat. Franz also noticed that M. Hamill was wearing his best Sunday clothes, which he usually wears only on inspection and prize days. Now, that was a very unusual thing. As Franz made his way to the desk, he saw all the elderly people of the town sitting in the big benches. Franz was now really confused. But soon his confusion was cleared. M. Hamill announced that an order has come from Berlin that from next day onwards, French will be replaced by German in the schools of Alsace and Lorraine, and all the French teachers have been asked to leave the school. So this was going to be M. Hamill's last lesson in the school. Franz feels shocked at the news. He regrets neglecting his French lessons. He realizes how dear his language is now that it is going to be soon taken away from him. He also feels upset at M. Hamill leaving the school and feels sorry for him. He now realizes why the old people of the town were sitting in the big benches of the classroom. They were sitting there to show their respect for the man who has served their town and their school faithfully for the last 40 years. M. Hamill too is distressed, but he continues his lesson. He asks Franz about his homework, but Franz is unable to answer him since he has not done his homework and feels ashamed. M. Hamill tells him that he need not blame himself alone for not doing his homework because they are all responsible for the condition of French language. He blames the parents for sending their kids to work at mills or farms instead of school. He also admits he too is partially to be blamed because he declared holiday in school when he felt like going to fishing or send children to water the plants in his garden. Franz feels moved by his words and wonders if the Prussians will force even the pigeons to sing in German. M. Hamill goes on to say how French is the most beautiful and most logical language in the world. He asked the class to guard and protect their language because as long as they hold on to their language, no one can take away their freedom. As the sound of the Prussian soldiers drilling is heard outside the window, M. Hamill dismisses his class for the day after writing Viva la France on the board. Viva la France, which means long live France. So that's where the story ends. Now students, we will discuss explanations for a few important lines from the text. The first line that we are going to discuss is, "What a thunderclap these words were to me." Now these are the feelings expressed by Franz when M. Hamill announces the order from Berlin about French being replaced by German in the school. He's shocked at the news and feels regretful for neglecting his lessons. He also feels sad at not caring enough to learn more of the language he is born into. Next line. When a people are enslaved, as long as they hold fast to their language, it is as if they had the key to their prison. Now, M. Hamill tells the class that French is the most beautiful and most logical language in the world. He then asked the students as well as the townspeople in the classroom to protect their language, because as long as they hold fast to their own language, no invaders can take away their identity and freedom from them. The Prussians may impose German on them, but if they fiercely guard their language, they will never be truly enslaved by the new rulers. Now, there is another term that I would like to discuss with you, that is called linguistic chauvinism. This term is not essentially included in your chapter, but it is related to your chapter. The term chauvinism means a feeling of superiority. Linguistic chauvinism means an unjust and excessive pride in one's own language, and when one considers his own language to be superior to other languages. The order from Berlin is an example of linguistic chauvinism, when Germans imposed their language on the French people. Students, here in this slide, I have given a list of the difficult words from the text along with their meaning for your reference. You can just go through this for your own reference. Now, in this slide, I have given a few important questions from CBSE board exams. You can prepare the answers for these questions on your own, and if you have any doubt, you can always get back to me for further clarifications. So that's all for today's lesson. We will soon meet for the next class. Till then, stay home and stay safe. Thank you.